No, it's true. It's true.
Okay, recording has started.
All
How bad
right,
is it left?
so
I think we left
not
off
bad.
okay, I was in the middle of talking about Atlanta Falcons versus the Los Angeles Rams of Los Angeles. Okay, so basically here, what my was that, the Rams came off a very bad loss. They didn't look good. Blake, you had Falcons to cover. You said you don't care if it's 9.5 or 10.5. You think the Falcons will cover. They'll keep it close.
Yep.
I can see why you say that. This is actually the first time we're going to disagree in the last 6 or 7 picks that we had. I'm taking the Rams to cover the spread. I'm going to definitely, if the spread is 10.5, I'm definitely going to buy a point and bring it down to 9.5. For a few reasons. The Rams definitely are coming off a Super Bowl hangover. That's for sure. Against the really good teams like the Buffalo Bills, who some may argue is the best team in the league right now, the Rams will look a step behind. They will look a step slow. However, I believe the Rams do have enough raw talent, especially on the defensive end, to come away with enough points to cover a spread like this in a situation like this against a bad team. I think they'll take care of bad teams. They have that championship pedigree now. They know how to win games, but when they get lazy, they're not good enough to come back against the great teams. So in a situation like this, I'm taking the Los Angeles Rams to cover the 9.5 point spread against the Atlanta Falcons, especially at home, coming off a bad loss.
All right, Andy, welcome back. What do you think about this?
Y'all miss me? All right, so for this game, honestly, I stay the hell away from this game. This one could go either way. Just keep fumbling. All right, we're gonna pick it back up. So this game right here, I feel like, okay, the Rams, like Sojad said, I agree both. I didn't hear Blake's points, but I see both sides. Rams coming back home off a dirty loss. Sean McVay extra 3 days to prepare. Falcons are feisty. I really feel like this Falcons team that played last week wasn't a fluke, and that they can really, I don't know if they can compete with the great teams, but I think they're going to cover a lot of spreads in the beginning. Here is a tough spot, so most likely I'd stay away. I do have a couple Falcons plus 10.5, 9.5, which scare me a lot, but plus 10.5, I feel good about it, kind of good about it, as the way I lean if I had to pick them at that number. But I could see Rams coming out handling business, putting 20-point win on them. So I would try to stay away, even though I dabbled a little bit in it. I can't control myself, so don't do what I do. Do what I say, not what I do. Do what I say, not what I do.
Let me ask you a question. Andy, let me ask you a question. If the Rams go down early, like 7-0, maybe 10-0, is that a spot that you'll look to bet Rams to win the game, like to make a comeback? Will that wake them up?
Oh, 100%. Rams are winning the game. I feel really, really comfortable about that. I just don't see them. They know, like you said, championship pedigree. They have stars on both sides of the ball who can win games, especially like Matt Stafford. He's one of the best quarterbacks from behind. Him and Patrick Mahomes, best 2 quarterbacks from behind. So if they go down early, I'd almost throw the house. But I feel like Falcons kind of hang around enough, and I can see a backdoor cover type situation. That's what I could see.
Okay.
I just wouldn't feel safe the whole game.
Gotcha. All right, let's check out Arizona Cardinals versus Las Vegas Raiders. FanDuel has this spread at 5.5, favoring the Raiders. What do you guys think? Let's start with Andy.
All right, for sure. Say that again. I'm sorry, brother.
So we have Arizona Cardinals at Las Vegas Raiders. We got a spread of 5.5 via FanDuel favoring the Raiders. I wanted to see what you thought on this game and which way you were leaning.
So, for me, for us, the betting nerd in me, love this game. Not to bet on really, but just loves this, wants to see the outcome, because we have the Cardinals in a classic buy low spot. Everybody's been shitting on them all week. They looked pretty bad, so they deserve it. I'm not going to lie. They definitely deserve it. And the Raiders, that's been a hype team, similar to the Chargers and the Eagles, teams like that. Hype teams coming into the season who people want to buy stock in. You know what I'm saying? They want to get their number inflated. So For me, I would stay away from this game too. To be honest, this is a real tricky situation. I'm curious to see which side wins out, like the buy low side or just take what's the obvious play is. The Raiders definitely left a lot of points on the board in that first game, but it's the Chargers defense, which I think could be a top 3 defense. They got dogs on that side of the ball. So I just wouldn't trust the Cards yet. I would want to see it first before I threw on them, especially on the road where the Raiders have a crazy home advantage. I will say Collar is good on the road of covering spreads, but the Raiders' first game at home in Allegiant Stadium, that shit's going to be rocking. They're going to be pouring beer over the banisters. People going to be fighting. It's just going to sound crazy. So it's just going to be crazy in there, bro. I'm just literally picturing myself in the crowd, like, being mad because the Raiders are up 21 points at halftime or some shit. And they're going to look to prove a point because they're going to try to run up the score on that team just because they looked bad last week.
Yeah,
Sojad, you were telling me a couple of statistics or what?
Yeah,
An excerpt
basically,
about
Cliff Kingsbury,
Stadium?
Cliff Kingsbury, he plays very well, or he coaches very well on the road as an underdog. He's 13-4 in covering the spread on the road as an underdog. And he's also, last season specifically, he was 6-0 in that situation. And this is where he's at right now. He's coaching a game where his team is the road team and an underdog team. But having said that, this is not just any normal road team. This is the Las Vegas Raiders. I think this is an analytic that we can throw out the window because the Raiders home crowd, I was just watching a podcast the other day with Joe Burrow, and he was talking about how the Raiders have it's the top 2 home crowds in the league. And the Raiders crowd, they're going to smell blood with this Cardinals team. They smell a team that is not confident at all. They're breaking down, and that's when they're going to come in as a crowd and just step on the throats of the Arizona Cardinals. And I think we could see a blowout in this game. Taking Raiders to cover the 5.5.
Interesting. Kind of going off what Andy was saying, this is a stay away for me. I really think that there's a lot of hate on the Cardinals right now. I'm not too sure why. This team might not be a contender, but they're definitely going to win like 7 games. And, I think they're going to be scoring at a high octane all season. They just gave Kyler Murray $200 million for a reason. So I'd like to stay away from this game because they both haven't shown us anything coming off losses. But I do think this is a very good buy low opportunity to jump on the Cardinals because, last year they made it to the first round. Got embarrassed by the Rams, but they still did it. So I'd go Cardinals plus 5.5. The next game we got is Denver minus 10.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Now, real quick, I will put the Raiders. That's a good teaser team because I do feel like they'll win. So throw them in a teaser. If you like the Bengals too, throw them in a teaser. Nice, safe way to get your money on the Raiders.
Okay.
All right.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah. So the next game we got is Denver, Houston. So it's a 10-point spread in Denver for Denver. I'll start on this one. I have Denver covering the spread just due to the fact that they just got their asses embarrassed in Seattle. I know this is a very high point total in terms of spreads, but if this Russell Wilson contract, they just gave this man a contract after, he hasn't shown them anything before the first game of the season. So I assume that they have a lot of faith in this man. And that faith better show out against the Houston Texans or else Denver's in for 5 years of hurt. You laughing over there, Andy. Let's hear it. Let's hear your thoughts.
You said they gave him a contract. You about to give him another contract right now. We got to see it first. I got a lot of questions about this Denver team. A lot. I know they moved the ball well, but there is a lot of coaching decisions. Like our trend in weeks 1 and 2, I kind of want rookie head coaches who are still learning on the job, because if you think about it, a lot of these coaches don't work out. So if you can get some cash on them early and figure out which ones actually can coach and actually can't, you figure that out early, you figure out which ones own the locker room, I feel like you get an advantage. I feel like we're kind of just looking at the roster of the Broncos and we're saying, yeah, this team deserves to be a 10-point favorite. I kind of agree that maybe in week 10, but I think they got a lot of work to do because they got a new coach, new system. That defense is not playing the same way they did under Vic Fangio. And even though they're coming off the loss, and I do agree it's a buy low, I was with you until like a couple of days ago. I feel like the Texans, just like rewatching a couple clips of that game and just a little bit of highlights of the game, they actually competed. Like, that wasn't a fluke with the Colts. They competed. They moved the ball through the air, and their defense played solid. And I feel like they got a coach who's going to try to keep the game close, run the ball, even if they lose, which I think they will for sure lose. But I feel like they're going to be able to keep it close and make it a competition late. So backdoor cover type situation, you never know. Also, a lot of pressure for the Broncos being at home, that embarrassing loss. I think they could be still a little bit out of their element. I feel like it takes a couple of weeks to settle in for them and just kind of play football.
They do say that September in Mile High Stadium is the hardest time to play there just because people haven't gotten into shape yet. And so the Broncos home field advantage is very high in September.
That's actually a great point. That's a great point. That's interesting.
How do you feel about this one, Sojad?
Yeah, I'm going to take Andy's side on this. I think Denver definitely comes out of this game with a win, especially in front of the home crowd, especially coming off a bad loss like the one that they had in week 1. I mean, if they lose this week, it's not going to be good for the Broncos. So they're definitely going to win the game. However, 10 points is a lot of points to give a team that looked as bad as the Broncos looked in week 1 in the throwing game. Russ had no chemistry at all with any of his receivers. He does have some talent at the receiver position, so maybe they can clean that up a little bit. But I'm going to bet against that until I can actually see it. Russ is he's a seasoned vet. He does know how to win football games, so he's going to win this one. But that backdoor cover, I think, is one that we're going to see in this game. Even if the Texans go down 15, 16, 17, I think they could score a touchdown late, kind of in garbage time, and still cover that. So 10 points is just too much to give a team that hasn't really proven much. At the end of the day, they are playing another professional football team, even if it is the Houston Texans. But you don't have to look too far back. Even in week 1, Houston Texans show that they will compete. Even if they don't have the roster, they're still going to compete and make it tough for the opposing team to put up points. So in this situation, I do like to, I would like to see the Houston Texans cover that 10-point spread.
Cool. I like what I'm hearing. You guys are actually kind of convincing me to go the other way.
Up on the other side, baby.
we got 4 more games right here. First out of the 4 is Cincinnati at Dallas. This is going to be Cincinnati favored by 7.5. This is going to be a very desperate Cincinnati team coming off of a very embarrassing loss against Pittsburgh at home. All the while facing a obliterated Dallas team that basically looks like their season's over very early on. It's only week 1. However, an injury to your star quarterback making $40 million a year is not a good thing. Although I did see that Jerry Jones anticipates Dak can come back in week 6. I think that's just Jerry Jones being a little senile.
Yeah,
but
that's complete cap. No way.
We'll see what happens. But yeah, I got Cincinnati covering this by 7.5. As a conservative bettor, I'd probably buy a point, maybe 2 points, and get that down to 5.5, 6 points. How about you, Sojad?
Yeah, I'm gonna definitely buy a point on this one as well. So one thing is, like, the Bengals do definitely, they play well on the road. They've covered 5 games in a row on the road. They've covered the spread. And they had a bad loss week 1. So I think all signs point towards the Bengals should cover the spread for sure. The Cowboys, they've shown that they can't really run. They do have Zeke, they do have Pollard, but neither of them can really produce much on the floor. And we're going to have to see a backup quarterback come in and kind of throw the ball, like a few times to keep up with the Bengals. For a fact, Joey Ice is going to come in with revenge on his mind. He's heard all the talk in this last week about Super Bowl hangover this, and they didn't come ready, or blah, blah, blah. I think after this week, all that Bengals talk is going to be shut down. I'm taking Bengals to cover this one with the 7.5, even though I'll probably buy the point and push them down to 6.5. What about you, Andy? What you got?
Ooh, this one is so ugly, man. This one is so ugly. This is one I'm going to definitely tease and taking a teaser. I already got it in some teasers, but this is my thing. The 7.5 for the Cowboys is too big. Like, it's too big. I don't know how many points. I think I read that Dak was worth 5 points, and then this game was originally Dallas minus 2.5. It's just a big spread, 7.5 for a road favorite. And I still have questions about the Bengals O-line. That they looked bad. They looked like ass. And then they still got a Cowboys D-line who can get after them. I could kind of see this being a weird tight game where, like, they make a couple plays. We did see Cooper Rush kind of win against the Vikings last time he started. At the same time, that was a different Cowboys team, so I'm not factoring that in too much. But I think he's at least competent, and I think they can at least compete with the dude. I would probably stay away from this game. I do have Dallas plus 7.5 in one bet, but in one parlay, I do not feel good about it. I already consider that money gone when I bet it. So I don't want to take Dallas. I would probably do what you guys are doing, to be honest. I'd try to take Bengals at 5.5 and then hope they kind of keep the cover there or take them in the teaser. But 7.5, I will take the Cowboys. 6 and under, I feel better about the Bengals, but I can see it being a weird close game in Jerry Stadium. They got embarrassed. I can see it being a weird game.
Honestly, after hearing what you were talking about the Cowboys, I can see a path to success. And like you said earlier, Bengals offensive line is still suspect despite how many improvements they claim to have made. You got Michael Parsons on the defensive line and the rest of them bad boys. Those some rough riders, as Stephen A would say. And one thing we haven't talked about is I think there's a path for Zeke and Pollard to handle this running game and kind of bleed some clock and just, get a tough 10.
They can get the running game going.
Yeah. Get a tough 10, 13 points and just control the pace by running. I mean, it's very possible. But I'm still going to stick with Cincinnati, but I wouldn't be surprised if the things we just touched on occur with Dallas. Let's move on to Chicago at Green Bay. So I believe this is going to be Monday Night Football or Sunday Night Football.
Sunday night, I think. Sunday night, yeah.
The longest rivalry in football, is that correct? Even though Green Bay owns this team.
Sir.
We got Green Bay minus 9.5, their Lambeau Field home opener. To be honest, there's a lot of 9.5, 10-point spreads this week, and at least one of them is going to be a trap. I don't know which one. It's hard to pick it out. Green Bay did not look good last week against the Vikings. I know a lot of people point to the beginning of the 2021 season where they started slow against New Orleans, but it just doesn't seem like, Aaron Rodgers doesn't have a Devontae Adams to bail him. Aaron Jones is a year older. This man's doing ayahuasca, I just feel like Aaron Rodgers is low-key on a retirement tour. Not to say that he can't turn it on and still be a top 5, top 3 game-winning drives type of thing, but I just think this Green Bay Packers institution, as we've known them over the last decade or so, is sunsetting. And for that reason, I could see them not covering the spread. So I'm going to go with Chicago, even though I hate it.
Yeah, I mean,
really quick, too. I was just going to say, there's a lot of Trey Lance talk, but it seems like Justin Fields might actually be that dude to come out of that draft class. So was it the same draft class? Am I mistaken?
Same draft class. Same draft class. I don't know about that yet. I feel like
you saw that matchup last week, so
I did. This is my thing about Fields though. He's just a gamer, bro. He's a baller. Like, I feel like he's dope for backyard football. That's perfect. This is not going to be a backyard football game. This is still a Packers defense. Throw out week 1. Just toss it out like we did last year. All right? Throw it out and then pretend like this is week 1 of the NFL season. The Packers still have an elite defense, right? They have probably the best corners in the game, like the best corner combo in the game. They got great linebacker play. They got a great D-line. They're going to get after Justin Fields. I see them causing turnovers. I feel like that was the biggest reason why they got blitzed last game. Not just the receivers dropping balls, but just the fact that they just let Jefferson do whatever he wanted. JJ Lightning, they let him just run all over the field. So I feel like Justin Fields coming into Lambeau, which is one of the hardest places to play. Talked about the Raiders, same thing. Rodgers, hearing all the talk about, same thing to last year. though that do scare me a little bit because I don't like betting on trends like the year after. It's not really a trend. You can't bank on it happening. But I just trust a better coaching staff at home, better quarterback, better defense, better Papa John's, better money, better. All right, never mind. So
No, you're probably right.
shit. Anyway,
You're probably right. Let's
that's
see what
but I
Sojad
don't
got
feel
to
good
say.
about it. I feel good about it. I don't feel
Yeah, I
good about it.
mean, this is a game where basically the worst possible scenario that could have happened, one, to the young receivers of the Packers is what happened. So in the offseason, all we heard was Green Bay talking about the young guys are dropping passes in practice. They got to stop doing this. They got to stop doing that. And what happened? Week 1, the young guys, they passes. And that was the worst of it, right? So now I think they can, the young guys can kind of just stop worrying about that. The worst thing happened already. Now we can move on, okay? We'll move on and we'll just try to get better from there. And basically, if they drop passes again, we're going to start seeing some cuts on the roster, okay? So I think I think in this situation, basically they got that little bug off their shoulder, whatever, and week 1 is in the past. Green Bay Packers, they came into the season as one of the favorites to win the Super Bowl, and they're playing a pretty trash Chicago Bears team here. So I think this is the best thing that could have happened to anybody who wanted to bet the Packers week 2, is that they lose bad week 1. Now we got a spread that's not that large, in my opinion, for how big of a disparity of the skill level is on these two teams. So I'm hammering the Packers in every single one of my action plays this week. I think we're going to look back on this. We're going to look back on this game and just be like, what are you talking about? It's Chicago and it's Green Bay Packers. Aaron Rodgers, what does he do to the Bears? He owns them. He's covered the spread 74.1% of the time in his career.
74.1.
74.1. History does repeat itself in this scenario. And if it doesn't repeat itself, it does rhyme. So they may not just cover by 9.5. They may just cover by 20 points. I might even
double check.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's no reason that anybody should be taking the Bears to cover in this game. Absolutely no reason. Yes. You guys said you saw Justin Fields win the game last week. No, you didn't, bro. The camera was too blurry. Okay, there was water all over that shit. Nobody saw that shit. We have no idea if the game even happened last week. It was a monsoon. Okay, I could have scored fucking 7 points in that game. I could have ran it down the sideline. Nobody would see me in that rain. Okay, that was not a real game. Okay, so let's move on from week 1 and let's talk about week 2. The Bears won a fluke game. Packers lost a fluke game. Now we're gonna see who the better team is in week 2. 9.5 points. Give me that all day.
Okay. I like the energy. So you got us riled up.
Discount double check.
Sounds like it's lock of the week. All right. We got 2 more. Let's bang these out really quick. We got Tennessee at Buffalo. The spread is going to be 9.5 on FanDuel. I heard a little nugget during the recap of Buffalo's week 1 win over the Rams. They said that Buffalo had a tough time defending the run. It's just that the Rams didn't have a viable run option to threaten them. And so with that little piece of information, I do think Derrick Henry, who's also looking for a bounce back week, is going to have a big game against Buffalo. The Titans are going to run a very textbook Mike Vrabel game plan. You know, score your modest number of points and just control the clock. I also think that the Buffalo Bills hype is a little hot right now. I know what they did to the defending champs. I know how they came in. Steph and Josh Allen look great, but you know, this season. I feel like buying low is a very great opportunity early on, especially in the first 4 games. A lot of people are jumping and very emotional, and I think it's a perfect time to be emotional for the Buffalo Bills. So, although I think the Bills will eke out a win, I got Tennessee covering the 9.5 point spread.
I agree with you. But I don't like it. I'm definitely not. I got a 10.5 in one parlay, but that's one of the ones I do not want to touch because I feel like almost the same thing about like when you hear a stat on ESPN and they're showing it all over ESPN, and we talked about this the other day about when they're showing it all over ESPN and FS1 and all the networks, be ready to fade because they trying to that's Vegas plugging that stat to get you to play. I feel like I've seen a lot of Titans have beaten the last 2 times. The Bills are weak against the run. Like, I don't know. I wouldn't throw a lot on this, but I would lean to the Titans just because they're coming off an ugly loss that they should have won. They can't run the ball. They play a physical brand of football, which I think the Bills suffer at times with. The Bills are gonna get tested here, and they're either might blow them out or it's gonna be a very tight game. So I would try to bet on the tight game, but I wouldn't bet a lot on it. That's all I'll say.
I would bet a lot on this game, and I would bet opposite of what you guys chose. I would take the Buffalo Bills all day on this one. The Bills just came in last week, and they kind of embarrassed my Rams, the defending champs, and they did that to a good Los Angeles Rams defense. That defense is still pretty stacked, okay? And Josh Allen was out there looking like he was just running like practice routes with his squad. No, there was no contest on anything. Jalen Ramsey was getting cooked all day, and that's Jalen Ramsey. So let's see what he does to the cornerbacks of the Titans. And also, you say the Bills don't have a good run defense. I don't know about Derrick Henry, man. I'm gonna have to see him prove me wrong before I can start to believe in him again as an elite running back. We all know that running back is the position where players they boom and then very quickly they fall off. So I'm not saying Henry's going to fall off, but he is coming back from a very, very difficult injury. So it might take him a few weeks to get back into game condition, get used to that physicality again. Last week we saw something happen to Derrick Henry that we haven't seen ever in his career. He got bounced off of his feet, and he did, and whoever did that to him did it in a fashion that he used to do to opponents. And
that was a rook, bro. That was a rook.
Hey.
Picked him up and dropped him off at school, bro.
Hey, guys, let's be a little more respectful. That's my RB1 we're talking about. I need Derrick Henry to have a good week, so let's tone it down just a little bit.
Looks out.
Yeah, he'll have a good week compared to last week, but everybody will have a good week compared to what Derrick Henry had last week. So you can count on more points than he gave you last week, maybe. But
all right.
Another tidbit, as a double-digit favorite, Sean McDermott is 5-2-2. When they're favored by a lot of points, they usually cover. So 9.5, I'll take it. I'll take it all day.
Okay.
Give me that.
Okay.
I like that. I think I might be on Bills now. I don't know.
I might be on Bills now.
You should be on Bills. You should be on Bills. I tried to tell you guys about the Chargers. But you guys didn't.
Let's wrap this.
Hey!
Let's
You
wrap
get
this
his
up
facts though.
Let's wrap this up with Minnesota at Philadelphia. FanDuel has it at 2.5, although Action Network has it at 1.5, which is pretty interesting. I lean towards Minnesota plus 1.5, and my reasoning is not too in depth. It's outside of the fact that Eagles came into the season with a lot of hype. Some pundits had them as Super Bowl contenders. I don't know where that came from. Jalen Ramsey in the first game in Detroit looked to continue to struggle from his same weaknesses, coming into the league. I just think that although this Detroit team is up and coming, a team that's supposed to contend should have handled business. And I don't think the Eagles handled this in Detroit properly. So with that being said, I got Minnesota, who just showed out Green Bay. Justin Jefferson looks like he's coming for blood. He's about to make people forget about Jamar Chase and take that number 1 spot as a top wide receiver in the NFL. I think Minnesota is also on a mission. They have a clear vision of the NFC North. Mike Zimmer's out. Kirk Cousins has a free mind. The NFC North is wide open. It's theirs for the taking. So for that reason, I just think Minnesota is going to take this game a little more serious, and they're going to do well and cover this 1.5 point spread, or 2.5 points, excuse me.
I think you're absolutely correct. The Vikings look really good week 1. They were able to score on multiple levels. Justin Jefferson is looking like an offensive player of the year candidate, early candidate, but he's looking real nice. Don't forget about Dalvin Cook. He's a great running back. I think he'll come out and actually remind people what he's capable of, especially as fantasy owners. Maybe they weren't super happy with what he did, but Justin Jefferson took the spotlight. This week it's Dalvin Cook's turn to shine. Kirk Cousins, you got a veteran quarterback that, hopefully he does what he's supposed to do. I can trust him against especially a young quarterback in Jalen Hurts. So in this position, I see why the spread is close. I do. I see why the Eagles are favored just because of the hype, maybe. But the Vikings have shown me more in week 1 compared to what the Eagles showed me against the Lions. So in this situation, I'm taking the Vikings.
Another point is what is scary about taking the Vikings is this is the home opener at Lincoln Financial Field. So you guys have been to Philly. You know how serious that fan base is.
Yeah, they're serious, but they're serious on both ends. They will hate the Vikings, but then they'll equally hate the Eagles. So it's fair game.
That's fair.
I got one
How do you
stat
feel,
for
Andy?
you. I got one stat for you. 8-17. That's Kirk Cousins that's Kirk Cousins in primetime games. All right, this guy. Just get all the faith in him. I've done it. I've been on the wrong end of this shit so many damn times, bro. So many damn times. I'm not getting hurt again. He's not getting me again. I'm taking Philly, baby. I'm taking Philly. I feel like last week was a little bit of an outlier because they didn't practice they didn't play all preseason, and they just were on the field for a lot of plays. I feel like they just got worn down in that second half, and they kind of just let the Lions come back. They get an extra day of rest. Monday night, like you said, at Lincoln Financial. I feel like they have the better O-line, they have the better D-line. That D-line the Packers D-line didn't really test the Vikings. They did stop the run, but they didn't test the Vikings or get to the quarterback as much. I think they're going to have a good game plan for him, and I feel like I trust, again, a coach who's been here. I think it's his second year. Yeah, second year coaching versus a coach who it's his first time coaching. And I like the Vikings coach. I really do. I think he's got a lot of love to offer. I like what he's doing to offense, but I think we still have some questions about the Vikings. It's tough because it's two teams that have a lot of hype, and I don't know who I trust more, but I do trust the home team. The Vegas is basically saying on a neutral field the Vikings are better. I'm not sure if I agree with that yet. I think they're still working out some stuff, but I think the Eagles, I trust them with all the weapons they have, the great lines on both sides of the ball. If they stick to their game plan, they should be able to beat the Vikings. The Vikings can win if the Eagles get out of character. And then Kirk Cousins, man, God, right when you need him, he just fails you. I hope he breaks it. I like the guy, so I hope he breaks it this Monday.
The narrative is speaking to my heart. Some of you might know, as you'll learn to know, I'm a narrative gambler. I gamble with my gut. I don't use stats. I just use, who's more of a man.
Cojones. He just puts it on the table.
Yeah. Who wants it more, those kinds of things. And when I see stats like 8-17 on primetime, I would fade that. However, if they're highlighting this, because I wasn't privy to that stat prior to this week. So if they're highlighting this might be
they're not even highlighting it, bro. It's just a well-known. I haven't even seen that. It's just a well-known stat.
I heard it once.
He's not that rep. But he's got 8 of them. So he's won 8 of them too. So
now you made a good point though. You made a good point.
The only thing that I got out of that stat was Kirk Cousins is on primetime television too often.
Me, bro. What is this? 25 games?
That's too much,
bro. 25?
He's gonna have to win one eventually. He's gonna have to win one eventually.
There's too many chances. Right. Bro got more chances than Tristan Thompson.
Were you guys trying to wrap up pretty soon? I was thinking of wrapping up with each just going through and saying one lock of the week.
Yeah, I think we're running out of time here too, so let's wrap it up with that.
All right, so my lock of the week.
Yep.
Put up or shut up. Continuation from week 1. Lamar Jackson, Baltimore -3.5 over the Miami Dolphins. That's my lock of the week. Hey, if you got the same one, it's okay. But put up or shut up, Lamar. You lose this one, you lost 300. I'm out.
All right, my lock of the week. I'm gonna go real quick then. Lock of the week. I got the Carolina Panthers.